we're gonna start with moisturizer. Now I'm gonna put this here, here, and here. And what moisturizer does is just kind of preps your face for all of the makeup you'll be putting on it, as we don't want dry skin or oily skin. Underneath the makeup, it'll make it look cakey and it won't feel very good, and it'll kind of hurt coming off. So I'm just gonna put this all over my face, all over. Once I've let my moisturizer dry for about 5 minutes, I can finally begin my makeup. So I'm gonna start with a brow gel. You can also use brown eyeshadow if you don't have brown gel. Anything works. All we wanna do here is make sure our eyebrows look very dark and fluffy. So I'm gonna start like this, and I'll soon show you what it would look like if you were going to use just eyeshadow. So I finished my eyebrow gel, but it's actually not as dark as I want, and I want to show you guys what it looks like if you are using eyeshadow for this step. So I'm going to go in with a pretty dark brown, and I'm using a very small brush to do this. So I'm just dabbing some on there, and I am just brushing that right onto the eyebrow. So now we're gonna go on to concealer and foundation. Now I'm using this for my foundation because it matches my skin tone, and I'm using this for my concealer because it is 1 shade lighter. So you can have both of these be the same shade if that is what you would like, or if that's easier or more accessible. But I'm gonna do this color first, and I'll show you different ways to blend this in. So, using my foundation, the one that matches my skin tone, I'm going to put a generous amount, 2 lines on my cheeks, 1 on my chin, 1 on my forehead, and I'm not putting any of this directly under my eyes or in this area between your nose and your lips or on your eyebrows or your eyelids. Now, you can use 3 different things to blend this out. What I suggest you use is either a beauty blender or a makeup brush. So I normally use my brush, and I'll show you on both sides of my face what both of these options look like. So starting with the brush, I'm using downward motions, and I'm blending this into my entire And as you can see from the side, I'll slow it down. It's just kind of like bouncing off the skin. We don't want to drag it. It's more of a small motion, like you're patting it in almost. Blend this kind of down below our jawline into our neck, just to make sure everything blends out into your skin really evenly. This is especially a good step if your foundation isn't an exact color match to your skin. So if it's not, we want to make sure that the blend into your actual skin tone is very clean. And again, I'm not going super close to my eye. I'm going a little bit farther away from it. So now that our wet base is done, we're gonna go and set that with either a setting spray or a setting powder, and I'm gonna be using a powder. If you want extra security with your makeup, you can use powder and then use setting spray, but for today, I'm just gonna use this, and I'm gonna put a generous amount on my sponge or my brush, and I'm patting this into the under eye, and I'm going in. I'm patting quite a lot of it on. And this can be brushed off after, but it's important that it's really set. So once you're done your under eye, I want you to put a little bit on your chin as well, a little on your forehead, and then a little right under your cheekbone. So if you go like this, you can see that line, and I want you to put it right under the line and pat that in. Now we're gonna move on to blush, and I am using a powdered blush. So what happens if you use a blush that is cream or a wet blush, if you're putting that over powder, it's gonna kind of take the makeup off that's under it, and it's not gonna look very pretty. Not that we're looking pretty for this role, but it's important that our makeup blends out very smoothly. So for this, I'm gonna be using a powdered blush. Now you don't want too much blush, just a little bit to bring some of the color back into your face, because after we put so much coverage on, it can be hard to see your skin's natural tones. So we kind of want to bring that back. We don't want to look like ghosts. Now I'm going to be moving on to contour. And this is the most important step for all of these roles because they're masculine. So I'm using this tone or this shade. You can use one that's a little bit darker or one that's the same as this, but nothing lighter than this because we want it to look very blunt. So I'm using this brush, this fluffy brush, and I'm squeezing it at the end. And I'm putting this quite a generous amount. You want quite a bit. And remember when we did that and we put the powder under? Now we're gonna put the powder over. So about right there, and we are going to blend. We wanna focus this on the upper cheekbone, and we wanna put a lot of product on. Now for this step, I'm using circular dragging motions. I'm using a little bit of a mixture of both because we want this to go into the skin and we want it to look very pigmented. So once we're happy with our cheekbone, we can always go back and add more, but I'm gonna move this up the hairline now into my forehead. Now I'm taking more product and I'm working on my jawline now. Your jawline is such an important part. So we're going to get a very blunt edge. I'm squeezing this and I'm going right underneath that line and dragging that across. You can see it's very blunt, but that gives a masculine look. So we're gonna blend that in now. Just like that. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more. Okay, so I finished my contour, but it's actually not as dark as I want it to be, and we need to be able to see this from the audience. So I'm gonna go back in with a darker eyeshadow. The same one that we used for our eyebrows would actually be okay with using the same brush, but this time I'm gonna use such a light amount. I'm gonna tap it in twice, and I'm really just gonna be super careful with this. So I'm gonna dab it and see how dark that gets. And that's pretty dark, I could blend that out. So I'm gonna put the remainder of what's on my brush on the other side and really even that out. So now that we kind of plotted where we want this dark tone to go, So now I'm actually done the face contour, but I want to go more in depth and do a little bit on my eyelids and on my nose. And for this, I'm gonna go back to using this brown, the one that I used before the eyeshadow. So I'm gonna dab a little bit in and blend this into our eyelid, just like that. And that's good. So we're gonna go onto our nose now, and I'm gonna drag this. I don't know if you can see this shadow right here. We're gonna use that shadow and we're gonna follow it down with the contour, making a line like that. Same on this side. We want a very defined nose. So you can see this really defines my nose and it makes it look a little bit more bold. And I'm gonna do a little bit right at where my nose starts. And that's good. So now I'm gonna go on to lips. So for lips, we kind of want to do a nude shade, and you can keep your lip color that you have right now and put a chapstick over it, or we can do a kind of pinky nude tone. And for that, I'm gonna be using this blush because it's quite neutral toned when you put it on. And that's good. So for our final step, we're gonna be doing mascara. And what this does is really defines your eyes and makes sure that you can see them from far back in the audience. So I'm gonna be using a waterproof mascara for this step, and this will really ensure that it stays throughout the entire day into the night because we have a lot of shows to complete, and it's important that our makeup stays intact so you don't have to touch it up or remove it and redo it. So I'm gonna be putting one coat of this on, but if you feel like you need an extra coat, you can also add that if your eyes aren't looking as defined as you think they should be. And that's our completed look. Thank you for watching, and again, we have a description with the list of all of the items that you'll need to complete this look. Good luck!